Hey everybody, Matt from Nerd Knights Painting here, coming at you with episode 4 of our Massive Darkness 2 painting series. We're going to be doing Andra. Pretty quick and easy, don't be intimidated by it because it's not that hard. But first off, I want to thank all of our YouTube members. Thank you so much for your contributions, your support of this channel, because it does take a lot of time and effort and it is very time consuming. So thank you so much for everything you guys do. Next, if this is the first time at the channel, or if you are just finding this channel, hit that subscribe button. I'm not quitting. This is going to go on for eternity until I no longer exist. So we're going to keep it going. But without further ado, let's go. Obviously, the first thing we're going to be doing is going to be scraping off all those mold lines on this miniature. Now, these are a little bit higher quality than normal, so there wasn't that many mold lines to scrape off, but there was a couple here and there that I found that I'm going to scrape off before priming. Now, I'm going to be using an airbrush for this. You can use spray paint. It doesn't really matter. I just like to use an airbrush because it does save on time and effort in the long run. Especially with money, because it is cheaper to do the airbrush than it is to do spray cans that are super expensive. After we hit it all with black, we're going to be hitting it with white primer from above and at about a 45-degree angle. Now, this is the pivotal point of this miniature in the painting. If you don't have this, it's not going to look as good as you want it to, so you need to do this step. It is not really an option. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to create our base color for the vast majority of this miniature, and it's kind of a blackish, darkish, purplish color. We're going to take 2 to 3 brushfuls of medium, mix it with about 6 brushfuls of our Basilcanum Grey, and then we're going to use some Shyish Purple, about 1, if you want to use 2 brushfuls of that to make our base coat. Alright, when you have your base coat created, you're going to use this on all of our wings and feather areas. Now, this is on the wings front and back, around the neck and the face area, some on the feet, and a little bit through the legs, and we're just going through and picking those out. This is probably the longest time this is going to take besides the metal portion on this miniature. Next, we're going to create our red base tone, and we're going to be using 2 to 1 Flesh Tearers Red to medium. So use about 6 to 3 or 4 to 2 on the Flesh Tearers to the medium, and we're going to use that on our robes. Now this color is going to go on all of the robes, and you're going to notice that it doesn't stick out as much, the undercoat, meaning the zenithal highlighting, as the black or dark gray did on the wings and feathers. But it's going to, once you see it dry, it's going to stick out a little bit, and with our dry brush that we're going to use, you're going to really see it stand out. Next, while you're letting that dry, we're going to take some Astorath Red, and we're going to use it very, very lightly on the bottom portion of our wings going up the side and on the bottom portion of the back side of the wings. That's going to create that redness that you see in our card art, almost like if it's lava reflecting off of our wings. We're also going to use this on all of our red robe areas. Now this is why we're doing this first, because we're going to be doing the silver here in a minute, but this is going to create that nice tone variation without a lot of work, and it really looks nice with the zenithal highlighting on that Flesh Tearers Red and this Astorath Red on top of it. Once you're satisfied with that red and those highlights from the dry brush, we're going to take some Balthasar Gold, and we're going to put that on all the little rivets on our robe areas that are coming down from the strings of red robe. Once you've done all those, we're going to take some Gehenna's Gold, and we're just going to highlight the top portion of those real quick. Next, for our gripping area of our sword, we're going to take some Mephiston Red. Alright, and for our metal hilt, the top and the bottom portion, we're going to use some Retributor Armour. And probably the most tedious portion of this miniature, it's going to be the steel portions. Now we're using Grey Knight steel because it is a brighter steel look that we are using. And we're going to be using this on the sword, all of the metal pieces to include the beak. Sorry, not the beak, the front portion where the eyeball is, the backside, the rib area, and all of the armor going down the legs as well. Just follow along with what I am doing and take your time on this. You don't want to move too quick and get it on those red areas. And as our last quick base tone color, we're going to be using some Emperor's Children on that bird tongue sticking out. For our wash areas on our metal, we're going to be using some Nuln Oil on all of the metal except for the sword top. Now you can kind of already notice that that sword has got some of that zenithal highlighting underneath, so there's some differentiation between the dark and the lighter metal pieces, and it already looks good. We don't want to mess with that. For our red area of our sword, we're going to use some Carroburg Crimson. And for our gold pieces, we're going to use some Agrax Earthshade. Now, as we're letting this dry, we're going to use some Ryza Rust on the bottom of those wings just to brighten up just a little bit more. But we're, again, not going overboard. Very, 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 very light on this. This is going to give it that look that is if he's standing over lava or something. Now that your washes are dry, we're going to use some Wild Rider Red on little pieces of the grip for our sword just to brighten up just a wee bit. And very, very carefully, using the small stride brush that you do have, we're going to use some Grey Knight Steel on all of our silver pieces along the body that we hit with that Nuln Oil. Take your time on this. Don't try and rush this, and use the small stride brush you have just to brighten it up. For our gold highlight, we're going to dry brush some Sigmarite on there. And for our tongue, we're just going to do a reapplication of Emperor's Children. For the eyeball, we're going to be using some pure white. And to highlight that up, we're going to use some Casadoran Yellow from GW. And finally, the favorite part of painting the miniature, the base, because that means we are done. We're using Abaddon Black as always for most of our miniatures, and that's it. You did it. It's fantastic. That looked a lot more intimidating than it really is, because we were able to use some techniques that make it look good and really get it ready for the table. Could we have spent a lot more time on this miniature? Yeah, we could have spent weeks, but here at Nerd Knights, we're trying to get this on the table to make it look good and up our game. So thank you for watching. If you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button. Leave me a comment. Send me some pictures of your miniatures on my Instagram. Until next time, paint on.